Let's continue in Acts 17, verse 15. And they that conducted Paul brought him unto Athens. So they had to get Paul out of Berea because they were going to hurt him if they could. And receiving a commandment unto Silas and Timothy for to come to him in a hurry with all speed, they departed. So he said, tell Timothy and Silas to come where I am speedily. Now, while Paul waited for them all in Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. So how are we given to idolatry? Imagine what Paul saw. He saw a Baptist church, a Methodist church, a Catholic church, a Pentecostal church, a non-denominational church. He saw all those different idols, places that people worship. He said, oh, Lord. Now, I'm just saying that would be what I would say if I went to a city and I saw a lot of places to go that people went in order to be idle. Because if the place is not teaching you the word of God, only making you happy and feel good, you are worshiping in the wrong place. So when Paul saw that, this is what he did. Therefore, disputed he in the synagogue. He went straight to the Jews' synagogue with the Jews and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. Paul said, I got work to do. Paul was no joke. Verse 18, then certain philosophers of the Epicureans and the Stoics encountered him, came in contact with Paul, and some said, what will this babbler say? Others, some, he seemed to be a setter forth of strange gods. He seemed to be talking about somebody we don't know, because he preached unto them Jesus and the resurrection. They said, oh no. What happened in verse 19? And they took him. Now, idolatry didn't have to be the churches that, had to be just churches, but most of the people that I see are idle. They go to places called worship centers, but it's not the same as what I read. And they took Paul, and brought him unto somebody else named Areopagus, saying, may we know what this new doctrine whereof you speak is? For you bring certain strange things to our ears. We would know, therefore, what these things mean, Mr. Paul. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time, what? In nothing else, but either to tell, girl, I got to give you my testimony, or to hear some new thing. Then I'm going to stop at the next verse, I think. Then Paul stood up. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars. I guess he said, feel like I'm in another planet. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, you men of Athens, he said, I got to talk to you. I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious. All right, I'm going to stop right there. So Paul went to a place where people would just sit around, blah, 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 blah. He said, y'all either came here to tell y'all something or to hear something new. That's kind of like gossip. Okay, girl, what's up? And Paul looked around and observed where he was. He said, these folk are just being idle. And then he said, I got to do what I got to do. So he stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, Men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious. And that's what the church is. You know, the Lord woke me up this morning. He told me to do this. And the Lord told me to tell you this. And I got a word from the Lord that is too superstitious. Just simply read the book and let the word of God minister his word. And then everybody be on the same page. And we'll be like a menu that's saying the same thing at this restaurant. And this same restaurant in Chick-fil-A, for instance, is saying the same thing in another Chick-fil-A. We're not supposed to be having a different menu, but under the same topic. I'm just saying. Anyway, I'll be back as we continue learning how to read what? The Word of God.